Okay. Yes.
Any other comments before we
No.
close the adjourn the meeting? All right, meeting adjourned. Take over, attorney.
No,
That's okay.
other.
Oh, Mel pala.
We're good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Tan. May I now call on Dr. Cora Salumbides to introduce our speaker for this assembly.
And okay, I was just talking to Marlene a while ago, and she has the impression that the board meeting will last for about 30 minutes. So
Mhm.
she's supposed to sign in just about like 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I can call her and tell her to sign in right now. She actually, she's at her school and she's preparing all her
Materials.
but she's going to do demonstration, and she will do the presentation that she will do today is to show you how she does it when she does Zoom teaching.
Wow.
Okay.
That's great.
So that's what she's going to do. And we had for a while, we were discussing if we can ask some teachers to join this late. I called somebody from Iligan and asked a couple of these teachers. She was already invited, but I asked her to please bring in some more teachers, because what Marlene is going to do is to do a presentation of what she has done at the last California Science Teachers Association convention in 2020, last year lang yata. I think it was also done all in Zoom. So she should be signing right now.
It's okay.
Hindi pa siya nagsasign in, Mel?
Hindi pa po.
Hindi pa? So, hold on just a second. Let me...
That's okay. Let's give her time, Ma'am Cora.
No, kasi nga ang even ang akala ko yung first 30 minutes was board meeting.
Correct.
Kaya sabi ko sa kanya, sige, take your time, and she's trying to make sure that everything worked.
Yeah.
And so hindi siya sumasagot sa... Anyway, if you have any question that I can, we can talk. So,
Cora, maybe you can reintroduce her for those who weren't here last week.
for those, yeah. Well, I can talk briefly.
Yes.
How she was hired in our school district, okay? Because the way she was hired was very unique, and so it happened this way. One day, I got this phone call from the superintendent of my school district saying, "Can I go with them to the airport to meet this teacher coming in from the Philippines?" The very first one to be ever hired directly from the Philippines. And I asked who else was going, and I was told it was the principal of the school. Well, so I went to the airport. So we got to the airport, the three of us, the superintendent, the principal, and myself, and we were carrying a placard that says Marlene Gutierrez. And then the superintendent asked me, "Do you know her?" I said, "Do you know her?" I said, "You just called me this afternoon to go with you to the airport." I asked the principal, I said, the principal was my classmate in graduate school. So I asked him, I said, "How did you hire her? How did you know about her?" I don't know how she applied, but somehow this is what happened. The principal emailed her and said, "Write a one-page essay of your philosophy in education." That was it. was hired on the spot.
Wow.
So,
That's great.
so she comes out and siguro, maybe she already saw the picture of the superintendent and the principal because she came directly to us, but she did. So she assumed that I was Cora Salumbides. And then she said, do you know, alam mo tayong Pilipino, siyempre may kakilalang kakilala, di ba? So
Yeah.
Ma'am Cora,
you know
Ma'am-
Gigi de la Cruz?
Ma'am
And I
Cora,
said, yes.
I
So
think
then, by the way, we know somebody in common. And then, before she came out, the superintendent said, after we pick her up, we have to find a motel for her to stay. I said, a motel? I said, no, we don't let our girls stay in motel. I said, that's okay, she can stay with me. And you know what he said? Are you letting a stranger come into your house? So I said, no, she's not a stranger. She said, she's Filipino. You know, she's my countryman. She will stay with us.
excuse me,
So
Ma'am
she-
Cora, I think she's online already. She's
Okay.
in the meeting room already.
Anyway, as I introduced her, she has been with our school district since then, but she has really blossomed into a great teacher trainer. She has gone in many parts of California to do training. One of the group that she belonged to as teacher trainer is the National California Teachers Association, and they're all sponsored by Stanford. She was
Wow.
also, she did one summer of Science Institute at Yale, and then one summer zero program, it is called, at Harvard. All of
yes.
those, yes. And I told her many times, Malen, you owe it to your country to give back. So she's happy that
Yes.
she's giving back now.
That's
Okay, so I
nice.
think she's in. Nandiyan na, Mel?
Yes, Ma'am Cora.
Okay. Okay, keep quiet na ako.
Uh,
I'll mute myself now.
Thank you, Ma'am Cora. Doc Marlene, the floor is
Could
now
you,
yours.
you make me co-host so I could share my screen?
I don't have oh well, here you go. Okay.
Okay. All right. Good morning po. Good after 6:20 p.m. na po dito ng Monday.
Okay.
So, I'm very excited and very honored again to be invited for the second time by Ma'am Helen and everyone. And today I'm gonna share with you a presentation that I did. I kind of modified it, but the basic skeleton was the presentation I gave before the pandemic. So I did a presentation for the California Science Teachers Association annual conference in San Jose. And so I thought I would modify it a little bit because this is one of my favorite topics. No, the use of visible thinking strategies. So Ate Cora mentioned already that I went to a summer institute in Harvard.
Mhm.
Why is my screen not? Oh, because I don't know why my screen is not
Working.
showing. Let me just. Oh, because my
Yeah,
document
again.
camera is. I was preparing my document camera. Okay.
There. Mm-mm.
All right. And so I was very fortunate to participate in this summer institute at Harvard called Project Zero.
Project
And
Zero. Wow.
my district actually paid for everything. And so as a way of giving back to my district, I did a lot of PDs based on my takeaways from this from the summer institute that I attended in 2015 or 2016. So and I always want to walk my talk. So I will go straight to the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. because I hope everyone has a piece of paper, because I'm going to have you divide your paper, just any piece of scratch paper. I'm going to ask you to divide your paper into 3 parts and label each part. So it doesn't matter um, um, whether it's you're dividing it horizontally or vertically. Dito po ang tawag niya ng mga bata, hotdog, pag yung vertical. Do we fold it hotdog wise, Miss G? Or if you want it crosswise, sa kanila, burger yon. Pag yung parang triangle naman, taco fold ang tawag nila doon. So we wanna, doesn't matter whether you're going to do it hotdog style or burger style. So I'm gonna share my screen, because we're going to do right away the first visible thinking strategy. I'm wondering, so nakikita niyo na po yung screen ko, kasi I only have one screen now. Usually I have 2 screens, but right now I only have one screen kasi hindi ko po nakabit yung malaking TV sa Chromebook ko.
Hindi
So I
pa po.
wonder if you are seeing my screen already.
Hindi pa po.
Okay. Okay, so let me do that again. Ayan. So ito po. Okay.
All right.
So Ate Cora already mentioned some. I just want to acknowledge the other groups that have been supporting me. So I'm a member of the Instructional Leadership Corps, and Ate Cora already mentioned that this is a joint project of University and California Teachers Association. So we facilitate workshops, and the goal really is to build local capacity, to make sure that the PD is put together by teachers who are in their local areas, because it's the teachers really in the sites that know best what they need. And I'm also some of these strategies I've also done for the Exploratorium Leadership Institute. So I am a member of the Exploratorium Leadership Institute, and I co-mentor young teachers from the San Francisco Unified School District. And of course, my first and forever love is I am a chemistry teacher. That will always be the best description that I would like to be used about me. I'm a chemistry teacher at Terra Nova High School, although I also do some admin work. I'm the science department head, and I'm the next generation. I'm kind of like the science lead for our district, and we have about 6 schools in our district with a population of 4,000 students. It's a small district. So I want us to, okay. So if you have a piece of paper, a size 1 or binder paper will work. If you could divide your paper into 3 parts and label one part see, another part think, and then the other part wonder, because I'm gonna share with you one of my most favorite thinking strategies called see, think, and wonder. Oh. Okay, so if you already have your paper labeled into the 3 parts, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. So this is what I'm going to show a demonstration. This is the first demo that I would do on the very first day of class. Okay, so instead of talking about the syllabus, instead of talking about rules and expectations, after I introduce myself, then I just have my students before, when I didn't have enough of this setup, I would just demonstrate. But until before the pandemic, because I have enough for each student, so on their lab table, they would find this. So I'm going to switch to my document camera. So this is switching from one thing to another. This is a little bit tough. So I'm gonna switch. So I'll stop sharing first because I'm going to switch to my document camera. So what I have here, so I'm going to show you a hand boiler. Okay, so let me just make sure. So this is just a piece of glass, a kind of glass. Here's the box. Okay, so it's a hand boiler. And so there's alcohol inside. Of course, the kids don't know that it's alcohol or that it's ethyl alcohol. So let's put on our student hat first. No? So we're not supervisors, we're not principals, we're not teachers, we are students, and you can choose which grade you want to be in. And so what I would ask my students to do is observe and write down what they observe under the SEE column. So what I'm going to do is just grab the bottom of the hand boiler with my hand, and you notice how it's starting to go up. The liquid is starting to go up, and well, I should not be describing it. If it's in person, I'm not describing it, no, but because we are doing it through Zoom, I will have to describe it. So maybe just jot down a couple of observations. No, so what are you seeing? What do you see as I hold the bottom of the hand boiler? So I'm also showing you a video so that you will actually see. It's kind of hard to demonstrate this in front of a document camera. Okay, so I'll hold the top, and you'll notice how the liquid goes down. And then if I hold the bottom again, then it starts to, okay, so just write what you see. Okay. And then you see that it's bubbling. All right, for those who are not able to see it clearly, I have a video. So I'm gonna switch again to my slide deck. This is the medyo it's medyo annoying to switch from one medium to another. So I have this video, which is taking a long time to load. Okay, it's loading. Usually my Zoom, okay. So the audio is not going to be that good, but this is what you're supposed to see. Later, yeah, for this. All right, so you get the idea. And then, so I give the students a couple of minutes to jot down what they see, what they're noticing. And then at this point, I would have them come up with a possible explanation. What do you think is happening? So that would be under the think part. So what do you think is happening? So what would be a possible explanation for what you see? So maybe just a couple of minutes. And then for the fast workers, So maybe for the fast work for workers, you can already start jotting down what are you wondering about? What questions come to mind as you are observing, as you are watching the demo, or if this is in person and you're actually doing it as you are doing the hand boiling thing. What surprised you? What did you find surprising? So this is the wonder part. So questions that come to mind. So I always emphasize this because I tell the kids that to raise questions, to ask questions is a key component of science, and not just science, but any subject matter. You have to have questions. You have to be curious about what you're seeing, whether it is an art piece, whether it is a diagram of different, whether it's a graph. Okay, so whether it's a picture of a historical event, you have to be curious about what you are seeing. All right. So maybe since we'll pick up the pace a little bit because I'm sharing two strategies and several examples of see, think, and wonder. Perhaps you could have maybe one or two if unmute themselves and share an example of what they saw, what they wrote down under the C part. So anybody, so you could just unmute yourself. Some of you are doing it in chat, but it's hard to monitor chat because I don't have a student assistant. So anybody, any volunteer? So what did you write down under the C part?
Ayan
Mom
po,
Helen? Oh, si Sir.
si Miss Mildred. Hey, Miss Mildred. Yan. Okay, please go ahead.
I saw that the liquid flowed upwards and downwards, depending on where it was held.
All right. Okay, so that's a good observation. So, and depending on how much time you have, you could have students share what they saw, or if this is online, like when I do see Think and Wonder now during distance learning, they would do they would do this on Jamboard or Padlet, so everyone can see what their classmates wrote. What about the think part? Do we have a volunteer to share what they think is happening? Anybody? So I always tell my students that this is the part where, they're just making a hypothesis actually. What do they think is happening? Because I usually use this to introduce a lesson, no? So a phenomenon. So this is going to be the anchoring phenomenon. So this is going to drive my instruction. So the whole lesson is going to be based on this as we develop so we're trying to figure out an explanation for this. And as we learn more about, this is a lesson to introduce the kinetic molecular theory. And as we learn more about the kinetic molecular theory, I have them go back to the think part. Now that you know more about kinetic molecular theory, I want you to modify your model. So we will have think one here, and then maybe we could have a think two. And then as we learn more about the kinetic molecular theory, they continue to modify. And then I would also have the students share their questions, like what are their wonderings, what are the things that surprise them. So I will put Ate Cora on the spot. Ate Cora, what question came to mind? What did you write under your wonder part? Wait, is Ate Cora still here? Okay. All right, so Eileen would like.
Excuse me. Yeah, si Ma'am Eileen Villaruz raised her hand.
Yeah, so Ma'am Eileen, please share. Ma'am Eileen, if you you can unmute yourself and share. You said in the chat you wanted to volunteer.
Okay. Good morning, Miss Marlene Gutierrez. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm Eileen Villaruz from Iligan City. I was invited by Miss Cora Salombides, and it's a great opportunity to be one of the participants and your audience here. And So on the think part, if I were a student, I would say that maybe the temperature of my hand caused the the liquid inside the hand boiler to somewhat boil and somewhat evaporate. So if I were a student, I would think like that.
Okay, very good. So this is one of the things that I really like about See, Think, and Wonder is, especially if you're doing this to introduce a lesson. So this allows you to identify misconceptions. So students are able, so you can figure out where the students are in terms of their stock knowledge about the kinetic molecular theory, for example, what they know about phase changes and what misconceptions they have. No? So at least you know how to develop the lesson, because if you could see that a lot are sharing something that seems to be a misconception, then you are able to address that misconception at one point when you are developing the lesson. So this is you can do See, Think, and Wonder to introduce a lesson that's going to drive instruction, or you can also use this as an exit ticket after. So after a lesson on gas laws, for example, then you could challenge them. Now that we know a lot of things about gases or about phase changes, let's see how you are going to figure out what's happening in this demonstration. And so since my students are so used to doing See, Think, and Wonder, because it's a routine, then I don't have to tell them that, okay, jot down your observations, jot down what you think is happening, and then jot down possible questions that you have. When I tell them we're gonna do See, Think, and Wonder, they automatically divide their paper into three parts, and I don't have to give them very detailed instructions. Of course, at the beginning, when I'm at the beginning of the school year, when I am just introducing the routine, then I have to keep on telling them, this is what you have to do, da, 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 da. But then they get the idea. That's why it becomes a thinking routine. So they're trained now to focus on observations and then think about, huh, why am I seeing this? What could be the reason for this? So now they're trained to think in a specific way. Okay, so I thought I would start with that so that you'll get a first-hand experience right away of what a visible thinking strategy is. No, so it's a very specific way of guiding your students how to think depending on your lesson objectives. Now, I'm going to give you the link to this presentation towards the end so that you can have a copy. Okay, so you don't have to take pictures. If well, you can always take pictures. So these are just definitions of thinking routines. Now, so these are very short mini strategies, and they're routines because you keep on using them until students eventually get used to us to doing it. And especially for those um, who need specific structure. So the three prompt questions. What do you think? What do you think is happening? What questions come up? What are you wondering about? Help them structure their thinking. It helps them get started. Okay, so it makes your classroom discussion more focused. And now, why do we want to do this? Because we want to create a classroom a thoughtful classrooms, where students are thinking, where students think outside the box. Like when you are thinking of possible explanations, you're challenging students to not just memorize, the assumptions of the kinetic molecular theory, for example. You're asking them to think of different ways of explaining what they have observed. So it encourages exploring ideas and not just memorizing content. And like what I said earlier, it allows them to to share their misconceptions. It allows you to find out what their prior knowledge is. So you don't always have to start from scratch, or you can address what seems to be misinformation. Okay. Um, and also, I do a lot of pair sharing here. So sometimes I would have them do this by pairs, or they could exchange ideas. They could come up with a pair or a group think, or a group See, Think, and Wonder. And you'll see that in a little bit. I think I have something in the chat, and it's kind of really hard to monitor what is in the chat. So I can't unmute. Okay. All right. So next would be, so I'll have to go to the, so I will skip this. So why use visible thinking strategies? Because I already kind of mentioned that. Okay, so like what I said, so I wanted us to dive right away into one thinking routine, which is the see, think, and wonder. And the other strategy that I'm going to share with you would be I used to think, now I know. So another strategy that I got from Project Zero in Harvard. So again, so see, think, and wonder. What do you see? So these are the simple prompt questions. What do you see? What do you think is going on? What does it make you wonder about? Now, for our EL students, because they're more used to sentence frames or sentence prompts, I changed this into sentences that that they have to complete. I see, blah blah blah. I think, blah blah blah. I wonder, blah blah blah. So just because they our English language learners, they're more used to sentence frames rather than prompt questions. But you get the same. You achieve the same goal. All right. Now, sometimes, especially when I use see, think, and wonder at the beginning to jumpstart a lesson, then I would have a fourth section in their paper, and this would be think too, because you know how in science we modify models as we get new information, we modify our original explanation. Okay, and so that's how science grows. How that's how knowledge grows. So I would have a think two or a think three. So let's say that was my introduction to the kinetic molecular theory. So a lot of them would barely have any idea about the kinetic molecular theory. So they give all sorts of explanations about why the liquid went up. And then I would have them read an article. It depends on my lesson plan. Or I would give a lecture, or they could watch a video, or they could do a cooperative learning activity, a jigsaw, for example, about the kinetic molecular theory. And based on that input, I would challenge them now to go back to their original think, their original explanation, and revise. If they see that, oh, I have new information now. So what the original explanation that I have needs to be revised. And I have them use a different color of pen. Okay, so that's why I have um, here in the United States, there are several groups that offer grants, and oh my God, I look for all these grants so I could buy all the supplies that I want. So I have all these fancy colored pens. I have red pens for so that I could do all these little things. So when students, for example, do their think two, then they use a different color, and I color code it so that it's easy for me to grade also. Like if it's your think two, then you have to use blue or whatever color, but it has to be the same color for think two. For everyone, but different from think one, so that I could see the growth in their thinking. So they revise. And I also encourage a lot of our modeling includes writing explanations, but really using diagrams. So they draw molecules, just circles. They'll say we use the particle model a lot. So they would draw what's happening to the molecules, because I want them to think in the molecular level. So what's happening in the molecular level when the liquid goes up? What's happening to the molecules that make up that liquid? So they can color that. And then I want them to collaborate. So we have lab tables, so they have elbow partners. It's really just a fancy way of saying turn to the person to your right or to your left. But we have elbow partners, and then I would have them share their own thing, and then maybe come up with a pair think, which they will write on a large manila paper or poster paper, and then they post it on the wall, and we have a gallery walk. So the students go around. When we're still in person, the students would go around, and they have this post-it note. So I have I have all sorts of colored post-it notes, and so if they agree with the other pairs explanation, then they would say I agree, and then they use a specific color of post-it note. So if they want to add, then they use another color. If they don't agree, then we have this protocol. You have to be polite, no? So before this, at the beginning of the school year, I actually kind of waste time telling them how to give feedback, both constructive feedback. Constructive feedback, like especially with the disagree part, because at the beginning, if you don't train them, they will say your explanation is crappy, and that other pair would feel so bad that this pair here said that their explanation is stupid, or so I have to tell them what would be a more polite way of telling your classmates that you don't agree. So look for something positive first. So like they would say, oh, your diagram is very colorful, however I am thinking, so they always start with I am thinking that maybe it's better if you look at it this way. So it's never that's wrong. So I teach them how to write feedback. So we call it gallery walk. Is one of their favorite because I have students who are always, those the students with ADD, ADHD, all those letters, and this is a chance for them to use up their extra energy because they get to go around the classroom and do their gallery walk. Now, how do you translate this to in person? To distance learning. We can do Jamboard, so they do virtual gallery walk. So you can, so we, that's why I use a lot. I use Jamboard a lot. My co-teachers use Padlet, but I'm not very familiar with Padlet. But Jamboard is really my thing. No? So I really love Jamboard. So it's easy for students to do a virtual gallery walk when they write their group whatever on Jamboard. So this is See, Think, and Wonder. And oh my god, I'm running out of time. So let's do another. So here's what I'm actually going to do with my students this Friday because we're talking about ocean acidification, and so it's the same here. I'm going to just do this very very quickly, so you don't have to do the see, think, wonder on paper, but I'll just describe what's going to happen. So we're starting on ocean acidification this week. Well, actually, the sub because I am still on leave. I'm still on medical leave, but I'm the one writing the lesson plan. Today, my students read a news article about how oyster farmers in the state of Washington are losing money because their oysters cannot survive because of ocean acidification. But they don't know anything about ocean acidification yet. So that is just our phenomenon. We always start the lesson with something concrete. So that's what the new thing here in the United States, the next generation science standards, it's phenomenon based. We always start a big unit with what we call an anchoring phenomenon. And for our unit on acids and bases, our anchoring phenomenon, our real life example is ocean acidification. Usually in a traditional chemistry class or in any science class, usually you do all the applications at the end, right? So after you have learned all the concepts, oh, this is how you see it in real life. Now, the new science curriculum in the United States, we start with a real life application and students don't know anything about it. And so that drives instruction. So in order to understand ocean acidification, they have to know what acids and bases are. They have to know what pH is, And so today they read an article about ocean acidification, and then when we meet on Friday, because I only see them twice a week because we are distance learning, their big question now is their essential question is why is water becoming more acidic? So we're going to do a see, think, and wonder. So I'm actually going to show this demonstration. So you are probably familiar with this if you're teaching science. I'm going to use BTB or bromthymol blue indicator. Now, I know that for some of us, it's not easy to have access to bromthymol blue. You can also use red cabbage indicator, but be prepared. The smell is really nasty. Like right now, our apartment smells so bad because I had to boil the red cabbage and then extract the. So I'm gonna show you. So I had to boil the red cabbage and then extract and then get the water. The water will turn purple, and this is now an acid-base indicator. But it takes a long time to to blow into it. So I'm gonna use bromthiamyl blue. So I am just going to use this. So I have here tap water, and I'll have 2 flasks with tap water. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop sharing first, so that it's easier for you to see me. So I have 2 flasks of tap water, which will simulate seawater. If well, in my real class, I would have prepared simulated seawater, but I didn't have time to do it today. So now I'm going to add a few drops of BTB, of bromthiamyl blue indicator. Remember, the essential question of the kids right now is, what is making water more acidic? So they're going to do a see, think, and wonder. So I will just add a few drops of bromthiamyl blue indicator to make it blue enough for you to see. Okay, and then I have another one. I should add more to make it darker. All right, so both are blue. But what I'm going to do now is, because remember, the essential question is, what is making our ocean more acidic? So I am going to blow air into it, but I'm not going to do anything to the other flask. No? So this is the time for students to remember that the other one is control. When you do an experiment, you have to have control, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so again, remember, you don't have to do this, but if I'm going to do this in the classroom, my students will be doing see, think, and wonder. So they're going to write down what they're seeing. Okay, so I'm going to blow into it. So you could see that after blowing into it, it has turned, of course, I'm not going to tell the students, but I'm going to tell you it has turned yellow after blowing into it, but then the other one is still blue, right? And so now the students will start thinking about what caused the change in color, blah, 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 and then and then they will come up with their wonderings also. What are some possible questions? Um, they will consult with their classmates. I'll probably have them come up with a group think. Okay, and then I have a video which I'm going to show them because I won't be there. It's going to be the sub. So I found a video that explains what happens to BTB, what happens to BTB when CO2 is, what happens to water that has BTB when carbon dioxide is introduced into it. So they will see that the carbon dioxide will react with water to form carbonic acid, and in acidic solutions, bromthiamyl blue indicator turns blue and eventually yellow. And then from that video, they can come up with a possible explanation now of why our ocean is becoming more acidic. But it doesn't happen in one session. It's going to be, I'm just doing a quick description of what's going to happen. But it will take probably 2 or 3 meetings before they will figure out that, oh, when we blow air into the water, we're producing carbon dioxide. And that's just like when you're burning fossil fuel, you're producing, combustion produces carbon dioxide. And a lot of it, because we have to review the carbon cycle, a lot of it is absorbed by the ocean. And so the ocean, then there's carbonic acid formed, and then. So that's my see, think, and wonder. And this is not limited to science, no? So like what I said, you can use this like my co-teacher in one of our art teachers would also use see, think, and wonder a lot. So if they have a new art piece, like for example, when she introduces a new whatever timeline or era, then she would show this art piece or this painting, and what do they see? You know, and then eventually that would lead to, oh, so this is the time when the Renaissance. I'm not familiar with all these periods, or even our social studies teachers, our math teacher, when they review, for example, for our EL kids, when they review the different kinds of triangles, she would show different kinds of triangles, and they would look for patterns and oh, what are the three? What do you notice? Into what categories can you classify all these triangles? And they will see, oh, it seems like you can classify them under three categories. So it cuts across content, no, and grade level. So that would be see, think, and wonder. Now the other one that I'm going to show is when you want to measure or you want to see if there's a change in their thinking. And this is the I used to think, now I know. This is egg in a bottle. It's also think and wonder. I'm not going, and then I have examples of student work that you can take a look at because I'm going to give you the link to the presentation. Oh, by the way, please don't hesitate to interrupt me if you have questions. I want to respect your time, so I know that you can only be here up to a certain time. So these are more examples of see, think, and wonder. But the other strategy that I like to use is I used to think, now I know. So this is what I use when I want to measure or see if there's any change in their thinking after a presentation. Okay, so it's a routine for reflecting on how and why thinking has changed, and it helps students put together new learning. And this is very useful, especially when students have a lot of misconceptions about a certain concept, and then you do the presentation, or they read, or they learn about that concept, and now they have a change in how they understand that concept. And so I want them to see the change that has happened in their thinking. So this is the I used to think, now I know. So it seems there's something in the chat. It's bromthiamyl blue for what I added was bromthiamyl blue. It's in the procedure, actually. It's in one of the slides. Okay. All right. So I used to think, where is it? So what would be an example of this? For example, so this is really good when you're comparing atomic models for the science teachers. You know how the atomic model, based on information that was available at that time, then they kept on changing it from Dalton, who thought that an atom is just a solid sphere, right? And then Thomson did experiments that made him realize that an atom is kind of like a chocolate chip cookie, you know, where the chocolate chips are the electrons and the cookie is the rest of the positive part. And then Rutherford would be, you know, the planetary model where you have the nucleus in the center and then there's a lot of space. Then you have electrons outside. And so I want students to see how the change in the model is dependent on what information validated the model at that time. So this is an example. So I would pretend, I would tell them, pretend that your Thomson. So Thomson is the chocolate chip cookie model. So before you did your experiment, what you knew about atoms was what Dalton said, that Dalton, so what did Dalton would say about an atom? So they would start their first paragraph with, if I were Dalton, I used to know atoms were indivisible. So, but now I know atoms contain elements which are negatively charged. You know, so this is how they're able to compare. They see, so we're not just memorizing Dalton, positive solid sphere, Thomson, chocolate chip cookie. I want them to really figure out what the difference is between the old model and that current model. And so I have another example here. So it's taking a long time to load. And so this one, comparing Thomson and Rutherford, for example. So I used to know, this is Thomson speaking, I used to know that atoms were the smallest particle. Well, Americans are very poor in spelling, so they always spell like particles. So anything that ends with LE, they always spell it as AL, particle, because they spell as they pronounce. And then the second paragraph would be, now I know that so this is now Rutherford. Now I know that the positive charge things are protons, blah, blah, blah. So they see the change in thinking. And I also use this, so we have field trips, but I want the field trip to be meaningful. So I want them to reflect on what changed in their attitude, for example, what changed in their knowledge about whatever is the focus of the field trip before and after the field trip. So every year, of course, I couldn't do it this year because of the pandemic. I would bring my APES. APES stands for AP Environmental Science. So we have this canoe trip. So we would study, we would do water testing of this wetland a few miles from our school, and then they look at the different they look at the different organisms there. They identify the different plants, grasses, and then we talk about what's going to happen if sea level rise becomes a reality here. So because we talk about sea level rise, for example, an environmental issue, but then it's so far from them. So I bring them to the site, and we're lucky that we have this area. And there's another group that offers free field trips, so they pay for everything. All I have to do is bring them to the site. And so we spend one day there, and because of this, I had to learn how to paddle, because I could not. I had to be in one of the canoes, and of course, nobody wants to be with me. But and so after the field trip, so they have to have their accountability. So their exit ticket, we call it exit ticket, what they do at the end. So this is what they would, one of the things that they would write. So I used to think that global warming was a blah, 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 blah. But because of that field trip, what do you think now about global warming and sea level rise? No? So going to the field trip, I become more aware, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, I just want them to realize that when they experience something, there has to be change, because learning is all about change, and it can be a change in knowledge, it can be a change in attitude, but there has to be change. Otherwise, if nothing changed, then it becomes useless. That activity becomes useless. One of the things we do every year is pick up cigarette butts in our community. And so I would also, so the reflection is this also, so they would do, I used to think, now I know. So I used to think cigarettes were only bad because of blah, blah, blah. Now I know that cigarettes contain plastic. So, and sometimes I must be, sometimes when I don't have a good lesson plan, I would just have them read an article and do, okay, and I used to know, now I think, and then that's it for me. I will just sit down and watch them once in a while. You know, there are bad days when you don't feel like coming up with a lesson plan. Oh, I'll just do this, whatever. Okay. But of course, I don't share this with the new teachers because I said you can only do this when you have gained a lot of experience. You can afford, you know when to do a little bit of this, of lazy teaching, and when not to do it. Okay. So your turn. Think, parent, share. We don't have time to do breakout rooms, so think about the lesson where you could ask I know that many of you are supervisors or trainers, so maybe think about the lesson where you could ask your teachers, your department, to use I used to think, now I know, or see, think, and wonder. Or when you were still in the classroom, what lesson, in what particular lesson would any of these two strategies work? So maybe I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it. Then maybe you can put it in the chat, and then I'll just read what you write in the chat. Of course, you're also welcome to share, to unmute and share a possible application. What lesson in what lesson can you use I used to think, now I know, or see, think, and wonder? Yep. Yes. I'll look at the chat. I'll monitor the chat. So do we have some brave souls? Is Atakora volunteering? I see your hand waving, Atakora.
You can unmute yourselves, Ma'am Cora.
What would be a good lesson for I used to think, now I know?
Ma'am Cora, you can unmute yourself. You just click on the mic button, lower left. Lower left.
On the lower left of the screen po, it says mute. Do we have a volunteer on the chat? You can write on the chat. Anyone? So I think, let me just, if there are no volunteers, let me see if I have, let me just share the rest of my slides. So why do I?
Yeah.
Yes, Ma'am Alice, are you going to share?
Yeah, it's only now that the host unmuted. So we wanted to share. I think this is such a great lesson for example, for culture and heritage. Okay.
Yes.
Because you can just show the object, okay, in the seeing, and let the students describe it. For example, a weaving pattern. And then
Yes.
on the think part, you say, why do they put this design? Why lizards? Why trees? Why mountains? No? In comparison, let's say if that's the northern pattern. In the southern pattern, Mindanao, it's all curvilinear. And so I think this is so exciting because you break up the thinking process into very specific processes. Unlike showing particularly, when you discuss, there's no direction. But if you divide it into see, think, and wonder, I think it's very rational and biteable. In other words, it doesn't frighten the students. So thanks for sharing this, Marlene.
You're welcome po. So
am I unmuted na?
Yes, Ate Cora, you are unmuted na po.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get your attention, Marlene, because from the very first one when you said see, think, wonder, and then you mentioned EL. Let them EL for everybody. FYI, EL is English Limited Learner. That's when
English Limited Learners.
So you mentioned EL many times, and I was trying to get your attention to let everybody know what you meant every time you said EL. When you talk to the EL kids, that means English Limited Learner. You cannot just, you have to give them, you have to give them the sentence first. Yeah. I think that this is happening because, and then they will continue because they are not very well versed in English as yet. Marami din kaming kwan. Hindi marunong mag-English.
That's
English
okay,
Limited
no?
Learner. Okay. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to add. Because I always, in all the training that I did, Marlene, I have to mention that. I have to tell them. Kasi sometimes the teacher will not answer me. Kahit na mag-Tagalog, naiiyan silang sumagot sa akin ng English. So then I have to talk in Tagalog. Tapos sasabihin ko, ako din, we have a lot of English limited learner. And then, ganun pala. Not everybody speaks English.
Correct.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you for clarifying that po, Ate Cora.
Mm.
So yun pong, I really like the idea that was shared by Ma'am Al. So when you help students structure their thinking, they don't get overwhelmed.
Yes.
So in order to
correct.
find what heritage or culture does this represent, sometimes it's hard for students to come up with that conclusion right away. So you have to guide them. So look for patterns first. What do you see?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm. Okay. And so actually one of the reasons we're really highlighting visible thinking strategies is because the new science curriculum in the United States, which is called the Next Generation Science Standards, is really more of you learn the facts and terminology as needed. So you don't start with vocab, you don't start with molecule, with nucleus. So you have them experience something and use their own vocabulary, what they know at that time, to come up with an explanation. And then you slowly introduce the terminology. So they don't end up memorizing an atom is, or a nucleus is, and so it's more of systems thinking, putting together things instead of just disconnected ideas. And it really requires a lot of time. So
Yes.
the district or the state has to make a decision that you will only cover A to E, because when you're going to lecture, you learn about the kinetic molecular theory, you can finish that lesson in one period. But if you're going to do see, think, and wonder and all these discovery things, it will take more than one period. So
Correct.
you'll have to make that commitment that we will only cover A to E instead of A to Q, for instance, because you want to focus on depth rather than on quality rather than quantity. And also because you are giving them an opportunity to revise their original thinking, they're not just rereading their textbook. So you are encouraging students to read multiple sources, to watch videos, to ask experts, to interview, so it's not just limited to the textbook. So even the labs, not because the wondering part, it's usually the what if, like when we're talking about what if I do this instead of that. So I tell the students, then come up with your procedure. So if you want to investigate that, what would be a good way to test your hypothesis? So they're not following the cookbook type of lab, but they are coming up with their own methodology, with their own protocol on how they're going to investigate that problem. And so it's not just worksheets, worksheets, worksheets. I'm not saying there's no room for worksheets, but it's not going to be worksheets all the time, because they're going to write, they're going to draw, they're going to revise, they're going to share with their classmates. And this also requires teachers being patient, because not everyone will be able to come up with the right explanation right away. So you have to provide all sorts of support, especially if you have special sped students in your classroom, or you have your English language learners in your classroom. So you will have to provide all sorts of support. And so that's basically what I wanted to share today. I'm sorry if I went over time. But I
No,
think
that's okay.
probably there's time for a couple of questions. And then there's also because I'm also doing this as part of my instructional leadership core project, if I could also ask you to I'll drop this in the link to write a very short evaluation to complete this very, very short evaluation. I'll put it in the chat box. Okay, so let me just put it in the chat box first. the link. And from Rex, it says, the see, think, and wonder can also be used in research subjects, especially during experiments and investigations. Yes, the learner can record, analyze, and interpret the data better using this strategy. From Victoria, you can use the strategies to talk about first degree, first generation immigrants. From Mildred, resume writing. You can also use this for resume writing. Okay, so I dropped the link in the evaluation form. It's very short. It's a Google form. And then if you have questions, you are welcome to ask questions. So
If you have questions, please just click on the reaction button below to raise your hand, and then I'll ask you to unmute. Although the option to self unmute is activated already. I don't know why this is happening, but please just raise your hand first, and then I'll ask you to unmute.
or you could also just write it in the chat, and because now I can monitor the chat.
Yes. Thank you, Doc Marlene. Yes. Any questions, comments, reactions from the audience?
Yes, Marlene.
Yes, Ma'am Alice.
You know how big our classes are, correct? We have like 40 kids
Yes.
in the classroom and doubled now because of the pandemic. Okay.
Yes.
Can you show us strategies on how to manage big groups? Remember, like 40 to 44, 45 kids in one classroom. That's the problem of most of our teachers. They're good teachers, but you get overwhelmed by the number.
We also some of our classes here, well, they're not as big, but for most teachers, 34 is a big class already for some of us here.
Yeah.
Group work, collaborative work would be one strategy. Like, for example, like jigsaw. So one of the things we use is jigsaw, like so where you divide the lesson into parts, or even like in math, for example, or in chemistry or physics, when we do problems. So let's say you have 10 problems that you want to solve. And so you want everyone to understand each of these 10 problems. So we do a jigsaw. So you could divide a jigsaw. It's kind of like the jigsaw puzzle. So you could divide the class into so many groups, like maybe 8 groups. So that would have 5 members to a group. And then each group now could work on a problem assigned to them, and then they could write it on cartolina or manila paper, and you can do a gallery walk. So that is one. The other, and then we also do jigsaw, like for instance, when we do environmental issues, for example, and there are, let's say, 4 environmental issues that you want to cover. Let's say sea level rise, acid rain, ocean acidification, and global warming. So you can do jigsaw, also divide the class into 4 groups or so. And then each group will come up with a poster paper, or if there's access to Chromebooks, to computers, then they could have a PowerPoint that everyone could see. And if they know Jamboard or Padlet, then each group can come up with a Padlet or a Jamboard showing the cause, the effects, the mitigations of the environmental issue.
Okay.
So that could be one. So group work is one of the, not easy, because you have but once you have trained the students, then it becomes a go-to strategy for big classes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Marlene. We have time for unfortunately, one more question. We have there is a board meeting at 10:30.
Hmm.
There's a comment, Doc Marlene, from the at the chat box from Miss Aurora.
Okay. I don't see the last comment I see is
Sorry,
the
direct message pala to. So I'll just read it.
Yes.
According to Miss Aurora Catabona, in constructivism, an idea presents the ideas the children know already, like Dalton used to. Then after a series of observations, new idea. Teka, Miss Aurora, gusto mo, ano na lang, can you just state this
Unmute.
to audio? Aurora, let me look for your name here.
Pero last na yata yun eh.
There you go. Miss Aurora, I already sent you a request to unmute.
and then there's also a request from Ma'am Faye Hidalgo.
Parang hindi yata narinig pa ni Ma'am Aurora. Ma'am Faye, please go ahead po. Dr. Hidalgo.
Yeah, I was just going to comment that this is something, Marlene, similar where the kids would draw their own ideas from some previous activities. And sometimes they use the skill where they think they are best at, like singing, like constructing poems, anything that is similar to the lesson at hand, even if it's in science, they go into the other subject areas so that within the time allotted for science, they can segue later on to the other subject areas in a constructivist manner, just like what you have demonstrated. But what I like about what you demonstrate is it's very simple.
Yes.
And, easy
Doable.
easy to follow. But when they can be better at it, it becomes a habit, and they can do it in other courses, other subject areas.
Mhm.
Yes, that's very true. So that is the challenge, especially like usually when we adopt a set of strategies, so all the departments usually are encouraged to adopt that so that students, there's going to be transfer of learning. So
Yeah.
like we do see, think, and wonder in math, then they also do see, think, and wonder or whatever strategy, a similar strategy in English. And so there's
Yeah.
follow up, and that enhances, that strengthens the skill. And you also mentioned something about once they are familiar with it, we also challenge our students to express their learning in whatever way they think they could best express it. You know, like if when they're modeling, if they want to come up with a three-dimensional model, then they can do that. If they want to draw, they can do that. If they want to role play the concept, then they can also do that.
Mm.
Thank you.
But I like the way you begin with a very simple exercise.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
Mm-mm.
And then yes, art can be incorporated in the teaching of
Yes.
science.
Mm-mm.
Writing poems.
Yeah. I think
Thank you.
Marlene, to follow up on Mom Fair's suggestion, you have three, I would have four. I see, I think, I wonder, and I apply. Or
Yes,
I do,
yes.
right?
Mhm.
Because it's the application where you see if they really know, the lesson. So particularly in art, it's really application in the end. So as Mom Fair said, either you sing, you make a painting, you do an experiment, you do a model. So I will add the last would be I see, I think, I wonder, and I do, or I apply.
Yes, that's a very good point, po talaga to consider, because that's what learning is about. Then when you can apply
Yes.
it to
Yeah.
new
Or
situations,
create.
especially when
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because your field trip is an apply, right? I do. When you showed us the field trip, going down the river is an application already.
Yeah,
And
so
maybe for science, I invent, because in our science or even art classes, the I invent is what can you make that's applicable to the community or to yourself, to your home, particularly kids who are poor, right? We have what we call the how do you earn from what you know? What can you do to share to the community? Because we have very poor communities, right? So the application is a very important at the end.
But poor communities are rich in
Yes.
creative ideas.
Yes. Plus application, like if they can invent something and share it with the community where they don't need to buy, I think it would be a good test of the lesson eventually. So I like your I see, I think, I wonder, and I do.
and then I apply, and then I apply. So
Yeah.
what's next? The
Yes.
so what part. So what if I know
Yes.
this? So how will this help the community? And I think that's also very applicable now because there's really a call to include social justice, for example. Also, there's a
Yes.
lot of inequity in society, and so
Correct.
you want to make sure that what you're learning in the classroom is something that can be used to improve the
Correct.
quality of life in that community.
And we
That's
can go
correct.
on and on. And I share.
Yes,
Yes.
I
You know,
share.
like
Yeah,
to
I like
share
that.
what we have.
I share, I do. Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
so great.
Thank
All
you. Thank
right.
you. Thank you very much. Dr. Madruño, you wanted to say something.
None, Mel.
Ah, yeah, okay.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
Oh, yeah. Yes, Ma'am Marlene.
I'm going to share the link to the slide deck. So my email is at the very end of the
Okay.
slide.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
And so let me just so anyone with the link can open this. Okay, so here's the yes, Annabelle. So if you have time, it depends on your lesson plan. You can give them time to figure out a new experiment as part of their wonder of the wanderings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much, Doc Marlene. Everybody, please click on the link that Professor Gutierrez placed on the chat box. And then if
Chat
you won't be
box.
able to accomplish it right away, please bookmark it.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take note of it as well, but better if you bookmark it now so you don't have to.
Okay, I'm going to drop the link in the chat box again.
Yeah.
So this is a very short Google form.
There you go.
So because I always try to get an evaluation because there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
okay.
Right.
Marlene, can you give us your email?
It's at the end of the slide deck, but I'm putting it in the chat box also.
Yeah, please. Yeah, it's easier.
Yes, it's the same Google form.
Okay. Navigate using. Okay.
All right. Please copy the email address and then bookmark the link if you're not able to accomplish right away. All right. Well, thank you very much, Professor Gutierrez. Again, maybe in the future for full-blown workshops, you've always been great at presenting things. So maybe in the future for workshops, we can have you again. Quite insightful.
Yes, and maybe when I visit the Philippines and in person is allowed, then we can do some kind of in-person workshop.
Workshops.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yes.
Hands-on talaga. and hope that you're getting better by the day.
Yes po.
You
I
still
have 2
look
more.
you still look pretty exhausted, but we do so much appreciation from our end that you're able to share your time in spite of yeah.
Yes,
So,
ano po, para sa bayan. Para sa bayan.
Papa. All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you very much, Pastor Gutierrez, and thank you, everyone. We'll see you at the next GAO. Sorry, I also posted a link to the announcement on Facebook. We have a webinar from the psychology department of the LSU. Our speaker is a project lead at the Asia Foundation, which is a think tank. I think this is a very relevant topic, generational management during the pandemic in organizations. So yeah, you can check it out on the Facebook page of Fuse anyway. The link is there. Okay, this is on next Tuesday, April 20. Okay, you just have to register online. It's free. Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Marlene. Good evening to you there. And
Okay.
Cora,
Maraming salamat din po.
Thank you.
salamat po.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Sige po.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
To everyone else,
Bye.
please be safe. See you soon. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
The members of the board, please stick around. We'll just wait for the others to sorry, don't mean to be rude, but we're using the same link, so if it's okay, we'd just like to request the others to exit the meeting so that the board may proceed with their board meeting. Thank you very much. Thank you. May we request those who are not part of the board to exit the meeting? We're using the same link, the meeting po kasi. So to I think we're good. There's 14 of us here. Miss Maripas, Father June, Jaira, Attorney Montina, Malu.
Hindi ka maka-unmute si Dr. June.
Ayan. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, good morning. First of all, I'd like to apologize to everyone. I wasn't aware that I need to send you an ask to unmute first before you can unmute, even if the
Kanina. Ay, ngayon, hindi na. Wala na ako naririnig.
ganun nga po eh. Kasi kanina, naka-activate naman po yung option na
Naririnig ko siya, kaya lang mahinang-mahina. Naririnig ko kayo, mahinang-mahina.
baka pwede niyo pong increase yung volume, Dr. Vicencio, sa speaker ninyo.
Saan?
Sa volume ng speaker.
Volume.
Sa
Sandali ha.
lower right.
Sandali.
So yun po, may apologies again. Actually kay Dr. Esther pala ako dapat mag-apologize, no. I honestly wasn't aware na ganun. Father June, lahat po member na ng board. Lahat po na nandito ngayon member ng board. There's on my screen right now there are 14 of us. And I don't see anyone here na hindi po part ng board at saka ng secretariat. So I think we're okay po.
Naka-mute.
Ma'am Fe, I'm sending you a request to unmute, Dr. Fe.
Thank you.
All right.
I think I'm okay now.
I'll send an ask to unmute request to everyone. Sorry, Sir Paul. I need to apologize to Ma'am Esther kasi I'm not aware that this thing happens. Naka-activate yung
Yeah.
Naka-activate naman yung self-unmuting eh.
Naka-mute ako eh. Pero ngayon nakita ko wala na.
Now I can unmute. Yeah. No, I already apologized to Esther because I thought you activated it, so I was able to unmute. But then later on during the lecture, I was trying to unmute. I cannot unmute again, so I told Esther, I said, she was right. She cannot unmute herself.
It's weird because here on the control panel, the option to self unmute is activated. Eh.
Yeah, but we do get a message that the controller is not allowing us to unmute.
Pero hindi siya nag-allow.
Labo, no? Anyway, my bad. But yeah.
It's okay. So as penalty, you have to send us merienda. Okay, you or Helen, making us stay here up to lunchtime. So I'll give you my address. You can send it via Grab.
May tikoy.
Hamburgers or
Hindi ako naririnig.
Okay, I don't see the others.
I'm here.
Yes, I see.
Here.
Yes, it is.
Complete.
I'm here also.
Turn on your video. Yeah, Father June.
Present.
Hi, Stina.
May video na ako eh.
Hi, UST. Oh, okay.
Present.
Rose? So what do we do? I think Helen says she was going to send me a script, but I don't think we need a script, do we?
Ma'am Helen emailed us an agenda for this meeting.
Let me try to check it out. I have too
Sorry,
many things connected here. My laptop is slowing down.
hindi ako makatayo.
Let's see, how do I get to that?
Ito po yung here's the
Okay, please.
meeting. So here's the agenda.
Oh, okay. Okay. Who's supposed to call the meeting to order? Am I supposed to do that or what? We are all new board members. We've just been elected. Maybe what we should just do, can I move that we ask Father June to be the interim chair until the new chair has been
Yes.
selected?
Siguro nga po.
Oo, Father June, ikaw na lang. I can be the interim chair until we elect. I don't have the list of officers. I suppose it will be the same.
Yes,
Here.
It's essentially the same. Yeah, it's the same, Sir Paul.
Same?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I can just be the interim chair so that we can get going. Can we call the meeting to order, please? Is there a quorum? I think we have a quorum.
Yes, we do, Father.
Minutes of the last meeting of the Board of Trustees. Well, it's basically the organizational meeting, I imagine, right? So there's probably nothing critical there. So may I hear a motion for approval of the minutes? Any board member or any member of the board?
I move for the approval of the minutes.
Ayaw pumasok yung screen sharing.
Okay. Sige, I'll stop sharing mine first, Father, if you want to share yours. Sige po.
Hindi, tanong muna. We need the minutes. We need the agenda.
Father, would you want to share a document? Kasi stop ko muna po yung...
Hindi. Di ba nag-share ka ng document? Wala kang nakikita.
Ganon? Teka lang po. How about the others? Nakita niyo po ba?
Ay, nakita ko.
Yes. I don't see.
You can refresh your screen.
Ayan.
Umiikot lang siya eh.
Yan. I can see it.
That means your bandwidth is still catching up.
Nakikita niyo na po, Father. Yung iba po, nakikita na nila.
Yes, I saw it.
Sa akin, umiikot lang siya eh.
Hindi ko nakikita. Yung agenda.
Agenda po.
Okay, number 3 tayo. Can I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that the minutes be approved.
Second, any second?
The motion.
Thank you. No objection. Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Matters arising from the minutes, I presume they'll be taken care of during the following meeting. Appointment of officers and the chairperson of the different committees. Do we have a list?
Wala po.
Helen, where are you? So what are we going to do? Can we just say the same as last year? Helen there.
Can we see what is the same as last year on the screen?
Hanap po ako ng... I'll look for a document that...
Wala akong makita eh.
Where's Helen? Email kaya? Let me see.
May ikot lang siya.
Delete yung latest eh kasi wala pa rin.
Ikot pala.
I see something. Wait.
Yung latest hindi tayo naglagay.
Okay. Can I just go through it? Helen just send me the list. Membership committee. There are 3 members. Fe Hidalgo, Onofre Inocencio, and Justina Evangelista. The chair for this committee, Dr. Fe Hidalgo. Okay. For training, the chair is Marilu Madrinho, Emmanuel Garcia, and Annabelle Monson. For research, evaluation, and monitoring, the chair is Dr. Rosario Alonso and Hunri Lidres. For publication, Rosario Alonso, chair. Co-chair, Alejandro Bautista. Member, Mildred Jimenez. Advisory Board, Dr. Esther Garcia. Information, Communication, Technology Committee, chair is Dr. Emmanuel Garcia. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's it.
Yep. So do we,
Yeah. Any serious objection to any of this? Serious, ha? Hindi serious. Don't serious. No objection, Helen. Where are you, Helen? Is Helen somewhere here? I see Helen C's name, but it's yours, no? Garcia.
There's
I'm here. I'm back. I'm here
Oh,
now.
okay. Oh, so is this the list that you just sent me? Any changes here? Helen. You're muted, Helen. Helen.
Teka, wait. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the list.
Is that the new list?
Yeah, that's the new list.
Okay. I just went through it. Any objection, anybody? Do you have a list to share, Mel?
Hindi ko marinig.
Kanila po yung sabihin.
Ito po, nagpadala po ako ng nakakapagod itong Zoom na to.
Alejandro Bernardo, not Bautista.
Ikot pa rin ng ikot eh. Wala ko nakikita.
I think, Father June, you might have to refresh. Get out and get in.
Father.
Yeah.
Nakadalawang beses na akong get out, get in.
Maybe 3 is a charm.
Hindi ko naririnig.
A minor correction. It's not Alejandro Bautista. It's
lalong magkakaproblema.
It's
Hello?
Alejandro Bernardo, okay? Not Alejandro Bautista. Right. Bebo just corrected me. I suppose there are no objections. Okay. Can we consider this as approved? Yes. Can I ask for a motion to approve this?
Which are we approving?
The members and the chair of the different committees that I just read out. You want me to read it again? Membership, Pehidalco, chair, Onofre Inocencio, Cristina Evangelista, members. Training, Marilu Madurino, chair, Mel Garcia, Annabel Monson, Emmanuel Garcia, co-chair, Annabel Monson, member.
Mel, pumapasok ako using another note.
Apa.
Okay. Research, evaluation, and monitoring, Rosario Alonso, chair, Junri Didres, member. Publication, Rosario Alonso, chairman, Alejandro Bernardo, co-chair, and Mildred Jimenez, member. Advisory board, Esther Garcia. ICT committee, Mel Garcia, chair. If there are no objections, let's consider this as approved. How about the officers of the board? I imagine the same. Dr. Lucio Tan, chair. And Father June, president. Who's the treasurer? I think those are the 3 positions needed. Who's the president, Helen? Who's the treasurer? Helen.
Excuse me, the current treasurer is
Evangelista.
Justina Evangelista.
Okay, I just saw it. Okay. She says to read again the board members who were approved, just for the record. Okay, let me do that. The board members are Lucio C. Tan, Paulino Y. Tan, Onofre G. Inocencio Jr., Fe A. Hidalgo, Justina N. Evangelista, Rosario L. Alonso, Maria Lourdes S. Bautista, Emmanuel V. Garcia, Marilu R. Madrunio, Evelina M. Vicencio, Dionisia A. Rola. And chair is Lucio C. Tan, president is Onofre Inocencio, treasurer is Justina Evangelista. Okay, any objection?
None.
None?
No objections.
Approved. Since the chair is not present at this time, the president will take over the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. Corporate Secretary Attorney Lito Bautista and Operating Officer Helen C. Pahabol. Corporate Secretary Lito Bautista and Operating Officer Helen C. 5 positions. Chair, Treasurer, President, CORSEC, and Operating Officer. Hearing no objections, they are hereby.
Excuse me, Dr. Tan.
Yes.
This is Tina. Are
Yes,
those
Tina.
the only positions we have?
That's
About
for the board
the
level.
vice president, and then the co-chairman.
I don't see any instruction from Helen here. You know, she's our boss, so I'm just listening to her. No, I think those can come later on. Vice President Fe Hidalgo, he just added.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Other
Yes, Fe was the vice president last year.
Okay, Fe Hidalgo, she just texted. Vice President Fe Hidalgo. Congratulations.
Is that an official position?
Huh?
Dr. Tan, what I can remember is that you were appointed vice chairman of the board of trustees.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
That's why you are now presiding this meeting.
Now we're reminding you.
Just interim chair. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, tama. He just texted Vice Chairman daw, Paulino Tan, whoever he is.
You're gonna squeeze out your name.
But our practice is if the chair is not present, the president takes over the meeting. Okay?
All right.
So can we now go to other matters then? Father, can you take over now?
Okay, so I think we can proceed with the agenda. Other matters, I think there's a training proposal by Dr. Madruño.
Father.
Yeah. You can now take the.
I hope everybody gets to see my screen, my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Good morning to everyone. So this is just going to be a short presentation because, as you know, there was no fuse training for teachers last year due to the lockdown. And so it will resume this 2021 after it was put to a halt March 2020 when the pandemic broke out. Okay, so I'm going to share with you what transpired during our meeting. We had our meeting on February 25, 2021 at 11 a.m. So Mel, Helen, and the secretary and myself were present during that meeting, and we tried to brainstorm as to how we can have our online training for FUSE this summer. Because as it is, there were several requests from local government units for the training of the public school teachers. And there were also requests from private schools in the provinces as well. And what are these schools? So far, these were the schools that requested for fuse training. We begin with Pagadian City. We have St. Columban College, and then Borongan Samar, St. Mary's College, and then from Ipil, Zamboanga del Norte, Marian College. As regards the details for the public school teachers, we still have to consult DepEd because there was no detail given or provided us yet. So what do we do now in as much as there is now the shift? We migrated now to online teaching. First, we feel that there should only be a maximum of 100 participants. In as much as we know that, I don't know if while we know that Fuse has its Zoom account, we feel that 100 participants should be the maximum just to ensure that there will be very good internet connectivity. And in as much as some of the trainers probably do not also have strong internet connectivity in their respective houses, we will request the Fuse trainers to conduct the online training at the Fuse Learning Center for Teachers. So it is best, because we have migrated to online teaching, it is best for Fuse now to conduct a training first of trainers on April 24. We have scheduled in April 24 to be facilitated by Dr. Mel. And who's going to be involved in this training? Of course, we request the senior trainers to be around, likewise the junior trainers, and even the local trainings, those that we have identified in the regions. And what's going to be the focus? The focus will be on how to teach content using the Fuse, rather the Phil Science Hub for content. And this was created by Dr. Jeffrey Bonkin. For those of you who were around last time, he was our speaker and he introduced to us what he created for use by teachers, which he calls the Phil Science Hub. And this is for the content. And we can also make use of Fuse resources for pedagogy. At the same time, we may also use any similar web resource combined, of course, with the Fuse resources or materials. So what is our objective? We aim to help the Fuse trainer to facilitate and guide effectively the participants using the Phil Science Hub for content and the Fuse resources for pedagogy. Phil Science Hub prepared materials for both science and mathematics. So we feel that there's going to be no problem aside from the Fuse materials that we have prepared, and training will be done via Zoom. However, for English teachers, there is no material prepared by the Phil Science Hub, obviously. So there will only be some vlogs on or vlogs on English materials that can be used. It was recommended also by Dr. Mel that we make use of the vlog of Laika Maravilla, which has already received a high number of hits. And one time I visited the blog of Miss Maravilla and I noted that she has around 1.33 million subscribers. She is an online educator, also an author, and she has already uploaded at least 837 videos uploaded onto her site. So maybe we can make use of this. But there are also some concerns that we have. First, the dates for the training of teachers have yet to be finalized. Dr. Fea might be able to help us out here because we have to consult the Department of Education as regards the availability of DepEd teachers. As we know, classes only started October of last year and we do not know as to when it's going to end. In the meantime, for private school teachers who open their classes June, we do not really have to wait for the public school teachers. They can be trained ahead of the others after the dates have been confirmed by the requesting parties and schools. Yes.
will end at the end of July. First
Okay.
week of July pala. First week of July.
Will be the last week of classes or start of their vacation.
Start of their vacation.
Okay. So ma'am, their classes and end of June.
Yes, yes.
Siguro we can give the teacher some time to rest and then we can have our training for the public schools. And then
although, may I interrupt?
Yes, po, Dr. Fe.
If we can announce in advance, because they would be also planning for their own training programs, so they can divide their time.
Yes.
And we know when we can have those that can attend our training programs scheduled on certain dates. The important thing is certain dates are already determined in advance, so that we can have them also.
Okay. So we'll come up with another date or set of dates for our public school teachers. And then we feel that the training should also be modular in approach, such that each training session is independent of the other sessions, so that if some are not able to attend completely the training sessions, then they will not be at a loss. So each should be independent of the other and the approach should be modular. These are some updates that we have. If you still remember, sometime June, we decided that we try to splice the videos prepared by Fuse so that we'll be able to upload only onto the YouTube the most essential learning competencies. So these are but some updates. For English, we have already submitted the soft copies of our supplemental teacher support materials, and they have all been uploaded onto the Fuse YouTube. The concept videos also focused only on the maths. For science, concept videos have been uploaded as well. The TSMs have not been uploaded because they are still being reviewed by Miss Tess Religioso. And for math, there was no TSM and no concept video uploaded onto the YouTube as of now. So, but when we had a meeting that was still on February 25, I don't know if there are more recent updates. Perhaps you could also hear from the Secretariat or maybe from Dr. Tina as to the status of the TSMs that are being prepared by the math trainers. I think that's all.
Malu?
Yes.
Malu, we have already uploaded the math.
Okay.
The YouTube channel, but the TSM not yet. It's not ready yet.
Okay. So we'll have to update our records. So concept videos have already been uploaded, but not the teacher support materials for math. I think that's all that I would like to share with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your sharing.
Father,
Thank you for
may
this.
I?
Yeah. Yes, Tish.
Yes, Father, sometime in September, the board approved a proposal for training school administrators in monitoring on online education. We were saying that we have to help administrators monitor the lessons, the classes going on. And we formed a small committee made up of you, Dr. Hidalgo, and then we said we will invite selected deans to meet with you, educators, to talk about how we can help administrators monitor what is going on during online classes. So I wonder if we can continue, if we can do this project. I already contacted the Dean of the College of Education of LaSalle, and he was very willing to help. I don't know if you have time to work on this.
It is very, very good recall, and I think we can capitalize on that initiative. And I think we can include that also in terms of our operational plan for this year. So that's one point that we have to refresh ourselves and try to see exactly what concrete steps have we to take in order to make that a reality. And I think also first of all, I'd like to acknowledge the work done by each group for the determination of being able to splice our materials and put them into modules. So I think we have to congratulate the efforts of math, science, and English having that kind of forum where they have shown us the work, every presentation at the General Assembly. Those are very small, important efforts that we have done. But I guess we cannot just collect these pieces and put them there in YouTube without really trying to have a greater plan by which, as I have already introduced before, I was thinking of how can we really operationalize the OER, Open Educational Resource. And there are so many groups already having also these different educational resources available and on the same topic and on the same competencies, and putting them all together and organizing them in a laid out plan by which they can be more effectively used and effectively sourced out. I think that's one thing that perhaps youth can also look into, no? Uh, as I have already introduced, and that's why I've said, if our means of communication now and our means of training will be mostly online, then using all these modules and putting them up will make the kind of training more systematic and more convenient and more efficient, perhaps, rather than just pieces and pieces here and then putting them uploading, but rather we must have an integral plan in order that that can become a resource material, at the same time resource material for training teachers, and we will know exactly what modules to prepare and what modules to follow up. You know? And maybe connect that with ability to be able to credential the training that we have had, so that it's not a useless training, but rather that this is now the kind of approach for many training modules. No, the credentialing of that thing that we have undergone, the competencies that they have gained from going to the modules that have been prepared. So I think that's one of the direction I wanted to see views can go into, and therefore our real say work now is really to intensify the new normal now of having the online and blended learning in approach, and the educational resources being the source material by which all this can happen. So that's another direction. And then a follow up with Tish, and how do the administrator follow up in monitoring that this is effectively done and can contribute to the acknowledgement of the competencies that have been delivered through those learning modules, and therefore can contribute to the advancement, professional development of teachers. So that's one thing that perhaps we would need to put up together, and maybe we can recall again the training group to present that kind of direction that we have to put up in this coming year. So we'll not just produce pieces and pieces and uploading them, but rather put a structure, put a way by which it can be more efficiently used, and also the professional development of teachers more organized in a systematic way.
As it is, Father, this is just the start, but after this, we intend to have a meeting also together with the other trainers who are really computer savvy, because they're the ones dependable.
Yes, definitely.
Of course, for science, I think there's not much of a problem because their smell, but we would have to identify people who are also as good as Mel when we talk about technology.
This comes to the second point I would like to follow
Yeah.
up. You know? I think we really need to reinforce our membership, and we should really capitalize now on the former institutions that were closely working with us. For example, UP NISMED, no? PNU, UST, De La Salle, Ateneo, can we again gather these forces, because these were the sources of the big wigs that we have infused, you know, and put them all together again. And now there's a generation that should really now come up in order to continue the work of the predecessors. You know? Because without these new inputs and excitement that we can arouse from this institution, views will eventually die with all those, the seniors of us. And it will have run its course. We need new blood. We need really an infusion. How can we infuse UP NISME to send this one? UP, Ateneo, LaSalle, these are the strongholds that we had before. And they're so up there that they can take that kind of impact in terms of organization. You know? So unless we catch up with that one, I think we will soon have our demise. So on, because we are all advanced in age. We need a new input. So how do we stir the participation of these universities and colleges who were once very active in our group?
Yes, Father. I was looking at the membership, and of course the members. Well, nothing as institutional membership.
Yeah, I think that's one area that we really have to again strategize and how to pick up again
the membership.
We have how we pick up again the members with enthusiasm.
We also have good members.
Yeah, that's why we need more of them. We need more, exactly, because now it's technology.
Do we still apply the same, how do you call the requirements? Like before they become a member of FUSE, they should have attended at least 3 general assemblies. But we have
We have all discussed. Shall we stick with all those ones and try to see and review again whether it is a valid way by which we can, or another type? We cannot perpetuate only. That's the way we used to. I think it has to develop.
Ako po, ang nakikita ko pong direction that we can take now is, of course, yung uploading po ng mga video and...
That's what we are doing now, yes. That's the step that we are doing now.
Opo, yun po kasi yung parang first phase, di po ba? We also already talked about what to do with those, which is basically demonstrate how we are going to use or incorporate them in our lessons. But then PhilSci Hub happened, and it turns out that this group has, phenomenally gotten a huge following as far as content is concerned, which is on the surface it seems like they're our competitors, no? But we also realized immediately then after that these guys are actually making the job easier for us, because now we can utilize our expertise, no, which is yung network, to demonstrate to people how to use these materials that PhilSci Hub is producing. So and things are happening fast. Last week, I think last Tuesday, the entire team of PhilSci Hub met with Rina Lopez of Knowledge Channel. I don't know what transpired during that meeting, but Jeffrey, the guy who started PhilSci Hub, posted it on Facebook, and I congratulated him. But he also did mention there that he now feels so excited because the triumvirate of FUSE, Knowledge Channel, or ABS Event Foundation, and PhilSci Hub is complete. So the way I see it is, whatever they did discuss with Knowledge Channel, I think he's already factored in the future of them working with us as well, which is on the pedagogy side. Sorry.
I think you have done very well, and I think that's one first step that is very important. But I am now trying to look ahead. Since people are picking up the materials that you have done, can we organize a kind, for example, if you finish all this competency, you would want to get a certificate for that competency. And that certificate can become a kind of presentation also of credential that can now be associated with particular thing that they want to pursue later on. And therefore, that can be experimented. For example, UE is a stronghold because UE is under Esther Garcia, and that can be facilitated in some way. Dr. Mandruño is of your esteem, and if we can have established a good connection with UP, usually you had before UP very strong hold. How can we now put all those credentials become part of the professional development so they would desire to put all those things together and piece them all together and look ahead that there is something that I gained from undergoing this kind of learning modules, and because it builds up my competencies, and therefore I can align to a certificate and then a degree, something like that. So there's more enthusiasm for participation from the lower ranks.
Actually, Father, pwede po nating, sabi kasi ni Ma'am Tish kanina, she invited the Dean of DLSU's College of Education. I think that would also be a good opportunity for us to show or to have proof of concept how we can how the academic institutions utilize those online resources in teaching. So pwedeng, actually nakikita nga pwede nilang gamitin for in-service trainings. Like, I can actually do it in my class na kasi nag-handle ako ngayon ng graduate school students ng EDUC. We can ask the students to come up with their own lessons, maybe their own videos, video delivered lessons based on online resources such as Fuse and yung fields I have. Pwedeng ganun.
Kasi I'm doing also work with CAP and we're doing also the OER. I said, puro disparate efforts of the different organizations. So how can our modules now enter into that, say, preparation that CEAP has been doing, and now putting a learning management system by which all those modules can come in together, because there are a lot of teachers in CEAP doing the modules themselves. So how can we put them and put them all together? And maybe Fuse can have a very good role because it will be independent of other groups. So therefore, you'd see how can we unite all these efforts and try to see all these ones.
Okay. So Father, pwede tayong gumawa ng isang let's say website where we have all of these online local online resources.
That's why maybe that can be now. I'm just giving some kind of thoughts for the direction that perhaps we can talk about by putting the different groups, different concerns. So I think the training will come in there very well. So there are 2 points that have been added into our concern. The one of the administrator as reminded by Tish, and the program that already is being currently done, and the what's next to that. I think that's what we're going to piece together.
Father, speaking of what's next, can we also at least man lang yung training committee, at least so not exclusive to the training committee people, meet with Jeff Bungkin soon, so at least we know the level of engagement.
I think that's the next agenda that we can plan. We'll try to see all these ones.
Can we also expand our either committees or subcommittees, because I think we need more people on the ground doing the work.
Louder, Paulino. Louder.
Can you hear?
Sorry.
No.
You too well.
What happened? Let me see. I was okay kanina.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Paulino, yeah.
Better.
hear me?
Yeah.
Clear?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. No, I was just saying that we probably need, maybe we should expand our committees or include or create more subcommittees, or in each committee or subcommittee can look at one particular area, whether it be chemistry or physics or English or biology, and put more people there,
All the
because I think
subjects,
what
no?
we need are people who will actually do the work rather than just like us planning and talking about it, except Marilu and Kish and Tina. But maybe we should get more people like Mel who will get actually do or curate many of these on-site materials, and then promote them and be the sort of the moderator for that. And because I think the important thing is that the teachers, when they get access to this, if they have questions, who do they go to?
Yeah.
That's the key. Somebody has got to guide them.
Yes.
Because
I think that can come out. Yeah. That's a good
learning,
input. That's a good input for the discussion and the group. I think that's
challenging.
a very good input.
They have to learn the technology and then they have to learn the content part. So maybe somebody guide them.
And of course, how to deliver it, you know?
Yeah, get a group of subcommittees who are going to be focused on each area, and within that committee, they have their own set of sites that can be used for this.
So,
Some sort of
yeah.
like a chat moderator or a group moderator.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think
you end
that's
up being the one doing the work.
most welcome. That the kind of suggestion. But really, what I really wanted to see is this one. No? How can we have members of the group that would be now dedicated to work for those different things, different concerns? So therefore, really, how can we shake the grounds of this big universities to come and share with us the vision that we have? No?
Yeah, I'm not sure we can. I mean, I'm not sure that we necessarily have to just work with the universities. We tried that before, and it was for the master's program that we worked with them over 2 semesters and 1 summer. I think Faye was saying that we should probably increase our membership. And earlier, when Marlene was talking, and Cora was saying there were a lot of people who knew her and wanted to get into the meeting, and was asking Mel for permission to get access to it. There are a lot of people out there that we can probably tap to do some of these things. We only need not that many people, and they are all seem to be interested. The one from Illegal, was it? She spoke out, and people like that. We can spread out we can create a bigger network of people. We just need some heads to sort of guide them along or moderate the group. This could be a focused discussion group, or this could be a subcommittee, or this could even be a committee.
And maybe it can be done by subject areas, no? By discipline.
Yeah, subject area, I think, let's drill down to the most basic level. Could be English, maybe even English, you might want to have sub-levels there. So if you have 10 different sub-areas, and we can look for somebody to be the moderator for each of the sub-area, and we can have things going on there.
I also like to go back to the beginning literacies in grade 1. The reading and technological literacies, because we pass children in grade 1 without being able to read. They can codify, but they don't understand. So it's not reading literacy that has been really delivered properly as early as grade 1. It is a problem.
Dr. Faye.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we should really identify people who could really come to that core. No? For example, I'd like to invite the one of NTC, si, lumipat sa
NTC?
Yeah, si
Edison Fermin, Father.
Yes.
Edison
Yeah,
Fermin.
yeah. I wanted to invite him to be member of the board.
Yeah, I work with him, so.
Yeah, that's why. I wanted him to be a member of the board because now he's heading NTC, and NTC is making now with all the programs that he's instituting, comes say being recognized. So I think those are very we have to identify key people who could really contribute to that.
Do you give me the license to talk to him?
Huh?
After this?
That's why I wanted to invite him to become board member of Hughes because it's a fresh blood that we get now. For example, also Edwin Uy, who was there in
Oh yeah, Edwin Oy.
Those were people I was working closely with when I was trying to propose so many
Edwin
advocacies.
Oy makes things happen also.
So those are people with powerful ideas.
So, Father, question: if we are now able to identify the young ones, to be part of the team, are they trainers now of Hughes?
No, because let me say it's an NTC the name is NTC.
Fermin.
Edison.
Edison, yeah, Edison. He has been our speaker, and therefore he's a member. He has been a speaker to us, a member, but we have not really followed up his involved.
Who is this?
Edison.
Edison was my student at UP.
Yes, in UP. Yes.
Yes, he was my student at UP.
He's
and
a language teacher.
Education po.
Yes,
He's all around. He's all around.
Yeah, we're good friends.
Yes, definitely.
He's the vice president
of
academics. Yeah, and academics. Tapos another one is Marquis. Marquis is a very powerful one.
Opo.
He's on study leave.
Yeah, these are people I have been interacting and I've been with even now.
Marquis might finish it.
I think we need to invite those kind of people to be part of the board.
Baka dapat sila yung speaker sa mga susunod na GA, Father, para ano.
Hindi lang speaker, it's more of the direction in the mind and the connection and the network.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yun nga po.
Pero po, Father, the ones that we will identify to be part of the mga subcommittees na madaling matrain because, of course, they're young at saka very computer literate, they will also be part of the training committee na.
Okay then, yeah.
So wala na tayong requirement na.
So how do we shake off this big institution so that participation from their school can become part of our campaign? Yun ang importante natin gawin. No? Ako, I was wanting to have this kind of idea. Since many of us are leaders in these universities and maybe can influence teacher education, can an arrangement by which some of this practical teacher training that they have, instead of just being a classroom teacher, also designer of, for example, curriculum of lesson of assessment, and they take the training, exposure, but have that kind of organized group. We have so big room and many facilities in our office in the one floor. Can we have them also in terms of, for example, if they have need to doing the training for technology and education, instead of going to the public school and preparing all these ones, the practice teaching will be in terms of preparing instructional materials. And then the output that they have is the kind of output that we want to demand from them. So can that be arranged? Something with a different training
Yes.
institution, no? So, yung mga ganon. So, instead of kung ano-ano pinagagawa nila sa training na, merong magti-training sa assessment, may magti-training sa preparation of instruction ng material, may magti-training doon sa content. Send us the best. Send us the best of who you want to train in this area.
I'd also like to add to this training somebody who is good in research, telling us that what we're doing is making a difference.
Yeah, no. So,
Simon.
siguro yun ang maganda natin gawin. Tawagin natin itong lahat ng mga training institution na to. This is our plan. This is how we want it to. Will this be okay with your institution, the program that we are going to do, and this is how we're going to edit, this is how we're going to credential them, and this is the way that they so that, and then tapos may affiliation na yung tinatrabaho na yun ng mga tao na train natin sa views. They become member later on and fresh blood.
Yeah, that's good, Father, kasi if we let them know what we need, they can even suggest their own good people. When I say good,
So sabi mo, yung mga magpa-practice teaching sa inyo, send us the best. Ito, we have the best program for preparing instructional material, for assessment, for teaching strategies and all of these ones. So they learn, and then they become our trainer later on.
for classroom research.
They become our trainers later on.
Doing classroom research is very important also.
Definitely, ngayon, kasi talagang dapat research-based ang ano mo ngayon, ang approach. And lesson study is one of the best means by which that lesson study can be done.
Yeah.
Lesson study, that's classroom research. I think I have given this kind of orientation before already, but I need to concretize it and make a real plan on the execution of that kind of direction. I don't know. That's how I was trying to follow up the things that we were trying to do.
So can we suggest somebody who will put all of this down into workable plans, and then when we meet again, we make decisions. For example, Tish.
What?
Siguro can be a group, no? For example, si
Father.
Dr. Garcia. Dr. Garcia.
Most of the ideas came from Father. Siguro Father can write them down.
I'm doing a lot in test down.
Turuan na.
Because I'm doing also one of lesson study. Tatlong. That was the one of SEA.
Hindi ba? Why not by committees?
Yan nga, sabi ko nga.
We have a committee on research. Di ba?
Magiging disparate disparate acts, no? Dapat talaga isa is the coordinative act na dapat nandoon. And then just try to see what are the working groups that should be able to follow up that one. Kasi pag kanya-kanyang mga committee, kanya-kanyang takbo na naman yan eh. But a coordinative act, but the working group will be there in the coordinative act. Okay, since men has been immersed so much, in that, I think then Dr. Madruño, he's working closely with, then I can do the input in some of the things, the processes, that one. This can help us write the whole idea.
Prepare the draft. I'll be happy to go over it, Father.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, if we can give each of our own ideas to someone put them together and then we determine our priorities.
Sige, I think we really need that to put on our gears now. Okay, I think that's good enough. Marami na tayong napag-usapan at malaking hinaharap. So we'll try to coordinate that group. So siguro yun na nga, let's compose that group that can really put the concept in paper and then put direction on how we, and then the timeline by which we can approach this. Okay. Are there any other point that you want to put in concern for the development of views? Ang importante niyan is we'd like to ask Helen, what is the financial status of our operation in terms of the present situation now, if ever we're going to do some programs for the views?
Father, we were only given 4 million for this year.
4 million. So, magkano yung operational cost from the 4 million? So we can try to see approximate what expenses can be supported by the remaining funds of 4 million. So take away all the operational costs of 4 million. Oh, yung 4 million ba operational cost na lang yan? Hello?
Father, if it's 4 million, the policy is 70% goes to the project, 30% goes to the admin.
So admin cost is 30%.
Yes, 70 goes to the project.
Okay. Then the prioritization of the project is the one that has to be looked into. Okay? Yun ang next topic natin sa meeting na yun. So once we are clear with the concept of what we want to happen, then we'll try to see how do we appropriate the 70% to those what we want to happen this year. Okay? So the first thing that we have to do is to call this core group, discuss the concept, write the concept, and then do the kind of approximation of how much will it cost if we are going to indulge in this kind of project for this year. Kasi malaking ma-spare natin kasi dati malaking expenses natin when we go for training, no? And then doon bumubuhos yung pera natin. Ngayon, since we cannot do that in that kind of fashion, then we can do a lot of saving from that. Then that expense, what can we do in order to put concrete action to the plans and the projects that we will get based on the understanding of what we have presented just now.
Father, question.
Yes.
Do we continue with the training schedule, which is on April 24, or we put it aside first until we are able to come up with the concept?
Yeah. I think it's better kasi masyadong magulo pa at this time, no? And then we will need to make clear to ourselves what we really want to happen.
Okay.
I suggest then we can come up again as soon as possible, this group to finalize the concept, and the proposed project that we can have. So first, let's do the assessment of what has been done, what we are doing, and now the concept that we wanted to make clear to ourselves, what we want to happen, and now put up some projects supported by the remaining funds that can help us somehow move forward. Do I hear any recommendation or observation or a resolution to what we have proposed?
Father, may I say something? This is Tina.
Yes, yes.
Going back to the recommendation of Dr. Tish about involving the deans of the colleges of education. I know that there is an association of these deans, Philippine Association of Deans. I do not know if it's called PAD.
Yeah.
What can we not tap them and
Yeah,
then from
that's
these
a good
deans
venue.
will
That's a good venue, no? So we would know how to address.
we can ask them about their good faculty members who can
Yes.
teach us. I mean, the audience of use about assessment, about curriculum content, curriculum design.
Yes.
Because
Those
these are
can
all
be
coming from the
those can
College of
be very
Education.
handy. That will be very handy, and it will make our job easier if we already can connect with those kind of groups. But I'm really relying on people who are there at the university, who are previous member and can make influence through the College of Education, because it's our target, the College of Education, because the teachers are there. Those who will be teachers, and those are potential members of say, our group, and they are potential trainers of our group. And they will be the perpetuator of the vision and mission of use.
Thank you, Father.
Yes, that will be good. Okay, so let's put up all these ones. Maybe we can call as soon as possible this meeting and try to see how we can organize ourselves and put that kind of question to our.
So who is going to talk to the head of the deans?
Not yet. Our first is tayo muna. Let's conceptualize it first.
Okay.
Let's conceptualize it first. When our concept is very clear, then we start inviting them. And our first target is this group of the college deans of college of education of the different universities. Or
Father,
prominent members. Yes.
pagka-college deans, that will be more on administration, supervision, maybe the department chairs of science, math, and English in the different
Wala
colleges.
siyang silbi kung hindi siya, pero wala siyang silbi kung hindi siya suportado ng kanyang team.
Kasi ang mga dean
Kasi
more on
kung ang topic ng discussion yun din na yun, will be able to get people with her for that meeting, for that purpose. And usually she will consult the different department when we are going to propose. So,
or maybe the dean can designate.
Kasi ang inaalala ko lang pag hindi mo kinausap ng dean at gumawa ka lang doon sa under niya, baka hindi siya favorable sa team. Wala rin silbi.
So what will be the topic if we invite the deans?
The participation of the teacher training. We are focused on the teacher training kasi ito yung future members natin who will help us perpetuate the whole thing. And therefore, to introduce them is already to make them participate in the activity by utilizing the structure that they already have in their own running of the college. For example, I was looking at that one, practice teaching. If you want your teachers to be the best teachers that you have for training them in terms of technology and education, we will offer you this opportunity where they will design and they will have the end product of the training that they have in the use of technology. If you want teachers for teaching strategies and content and all, or assessment, then we would have those different possibilities. Then we would have this kind of putting them. And then the materials that we have, we can give them also for their own manipulation of that and how they can even improve the better presentation of the same thing that we already have. ma-enrich pa yung atin with the new mindset ng mga bata ng this generation. It's a big idea, but it has to be concretized. And we can only experiment with people who are willing to be able to be our partners in terms of that proposal that we have.
Yeah, maybe we can identify a few muna. Those who are really forthcoming and are willing to spend a bit of their time with us.
Yeah. So, yun. So, let's identify, na-identify ko na yung key people sa group natin sa board. So, si Dr. Mel, si Dr. Madruño, si Tish as the one who is responsible for the translation of this into writing. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Tapos, sino pa yung key people? Si Pe, no? Siguro itong small group na ito muna. This small group muna. The five, ako, sama. Siguro, yeah, the five. Let's try to sit down together, clarify what we really have in mind, the concept that we want to develop. And then after that, key people who can be our network in order to translate these ones. And then the procedure that we're going to make use so that we can begin our action.
Yeah.
Good.
Agreed.
So yun ang concrete resolution of this meeting.
Do we have a deadline po?
Deadline? End of April. The meeting should not be exceeding end of April. Kasi,
Deadline was yesterday.
When do we meet?
Text na lang po, Dr. Fe.
Soon.
Yeah, soon. Dapat soon.
I'm growing old every day.
Soon means say within 15 days.
Yeah. Yes.
Within 15 days. Pero at least klaro na sa inyo yung direksyon na gusto natin puntahan.
Maybe we can think of those people who really are.
Yeah. Mag-brew na kayo. Mag-brew.
Okay.
Right.
Sige. Okay. I think we have done. Okay. Meron tayo complete action.
Okay. From my end po, i-relay ko na lang po sa inyo yung developments kasi I'll be chatting with Jeff tomorrow morning. So we can talk about what our agenda would be in a subsequent meeting with the training committee, and then after that we will relay whatever is tackled there to the board. Kasi mukhang malaki yata yung pinagagawa sa kanila ng ABS-CBN Foundation, and he just messaged me na they have something to pitch to us.
Okay, good, great. So we thank you for your participation and we thank you for the sharing that you have done. And we ask God to bless us and to prosper the desire of our hearts and to give us courage to take action on what we thought would be best for our contribution so that we can help the country in trying to create an Islamic education, Islamic education. So we are now committed to it. So we ask your blessing, Lord, and may the blessing of Almighty God, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit descend upon you, remain with you now and forever.
Amen.
Amen.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sol.
Stay safe,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Be healthy.
Thank you, Mel. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Evelyn.
Hi.
Hi, Tis. My Paul.
Oh, meron pa akong meeting sa Department of Labor.
Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye. I'll end the meeting na po.
Sige po.
Alright.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you. See you.